The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now, hear me out. I know I should talk more about this game like I did with the Fire Emblem, but I have to go somewhere, so I'll just talk about the beginning part of the game, and then I'll let the rest of you guys figure it out when you play, The Legend of Zelda. So, yeah, let's just move on to the gameplay.
One cool thing about this game is that it says the Nintendo 64, and then it starts this beautiful, nice music. Ah, yes, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is considered to be one of my all-time favorite Zelda games I've ever played. I remember playing this game and love listening to this opening theme. I guess it's a music that I've never heard of before. It kind of reminds me a lot of Donkey Kong Country. Now, keep in mind that this review is only going to be reviewing the beginning parts of the game. So once you start the game and make your profile, then there's this huge text. Well, it's more like the prologue to talk about what's going on in Ocarina of Time. So let's move on to Link. Then out of nowhere, we see this cutscene. It's supposed to be Link's nightmare, but it turns out it's actually what I call it as a vision. The difference between a dream and a vision is that a vision kind of shows you a bit of the future of what's gonna happen. I've sometimes had that as well. And of course, a dream is something that you could wish could happen, but in order to let that work, you need to make it a reality. So I get from a lot of people complain that Navi is considered to be the most annoying thing ever. Well, look, I know people complain about it, but I don't have any complaints. It's probably because of, a game that I didn't really enjoy. Well, at least Navi isn't bothering me. You know, I really, so yeah, this is actually the first Zelda game I've ever beaten out of any other Zelda games. It's crazy, right? By the way, you play as young Link. So yeah, technically it's Link, but nowadays mostly people call him Young Link. This actually reminds me a lot of Super Mario 64 a lot. I mean, sure that you can talk to people, but you can actually explore around. The only difference is that in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, you cannot jump because there's no jump button. But since this is the beginning of the level, it could actually be very helpful to teach you some very nice tricks and learn how to get used to the controller. One thing I find really interesting about the Legend of Zelda games is that there's treasures. Yeah, that's the thing. So when you go to a treasure, you actually open it and it depends what you get. It's not like oh, you get an item and all that. It just only depends. And then it gives you just, info about what you get. Like I got the Kokiri sword, which is pretty cool. Then you got this jerk who tells you that you need a sword and a shield, which I ended up getting both of them. I wish I could destroy him. But, this guy's still a jerk. Then you meet the Deku Tree, the Great Deku Tree actually. Now this is actually where you actually head to your first dungeon. So after what's going on, then the Great Deku Tree opens his mouth and you have to go in. I know it sounds weird, but that's how you go to your first dungeon, and let's talk about it. In these dungeons, you gotta figure out what to do. Like for example, this one, all you had to do was just make the enemy, projectiles go back, and he'll say, I'm sorry for, what I did. But remember, you need to learn how to figure out things. That is why the game always gives you hints about it. And now it's time to encounter your very first boss. Now, this is actually pretty interesting because somehow every time I face a boss in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, it somehow reminds me of Star Fox 64. And there's a lot of reasons why. First off, the battle, like the area where you're fighting, looks like something straight out of Star Fox 64. Second, the bosses. But the difference in Star Fox 64 and this one is that in this one they actually give you names of the monsters. The only way to take Goma down is that you gotta stun its eye. Once you do that, it's time for your attacks with the Kokiri sword. However, it's not gonna last because Goma is gonna try to go back up and try to attack you up there. So, obviously, stun the eye. That's the easier way. Then, grab your Kokiri sword and then prepare to destroy it once and for all. When you finish it off, it just starts like turning into pieces and starts burning. I guess that's what it looks like for me. This kind of reminds me of some of the bosses from Star Fox 64. Yeah, I know. I guess this game kind of got me somehow, connected to Star Fox. One cool thing about this is that when you beat a boss, you get a heart tank. A heart tank's very helpful because it'll increase your health and it'll be very, helpful.